We've met police officers in parks. We've met police officers, you know. Hey, what's up everybody? Mike and Yago once again from the Conquerors International Strength Team. And hey, we have the pleasure of traveling all around the world and doing very difficult feats of strength. But more recently, we've been on a journey to talk to the people who do the most difficult job on the planet, police officers. And today, we find ourselves in Kentwood, Michigan at Valleywood Middle School, and we're gonna be hanging out with Officer Gus. And in a few minutes, we're gonna see if he has what it takes to do a very difficult feat of strength. But more importantly, our man Yago is gonna sit down and have a conversation with him about what he does on a day-to-day basis and more about who he is. But before we get to all that, remember, the feats of strength that we do, they're very dangerous for us. And if you try them at home, you probably can and definitely would probably get hurt. So, do not do these things at home. We are in Valleywood Middle School. Officer Gus, why don't you tell us why we are at the school and why it's significant?
My assignment is a school resource officer here at Valleywood Middle School and within the Kentwood Public School District. And on a daily basis, when school is in session, this is where I am. And I've had the opportunity to meet, hang out with the kids. It's one of the most diverse districts in the state of Michigan. It's just super cool.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about this hallway that we're standing in and the flags that are represented?
The commons area here is where all the 6th grade kids and in the past, the different age groups of the kids as they come to school, this is kind of where they all start their day. There's flags in the commons here that are representative of each country of origin from students in this building.
Awesome.
All right, I hope you guys are ready to have some fun. But like we said just a moment ago, the feats of strength that you see us perform are very dangerous. Please don't try them at home without proper training. But that being said, we're gonna get to sit down and get to know Officer Gus a little bit better. Before we do that, we're gonna have some fun. And the first thing we have is a T-foul frying pan. Now this is a very difficult feat of strength, what you're about to see, because Mr. Mike Ruppin is gonna take this T-foul frying pan and roll it up into the shape of a burrito. Now I wanted to leave the label on there because with feats of strength, because we've traveled so often and we go to so many places, some people wonder if these things are real or if this is just set up. But Officer Gus, I want you to take a look at this thing and see if it's real. If it's legit.
It's legit.
It's legit? All right. All right, well, if it is legit, I ain't gonna worry about doing it. I'm just gonna pass this off to Mike Ruppin.
All right, good. Here we go. Now, one of the things that I like to do, because I wanted to be a police officer when I was growing up, but sometimes I go sit in the median in the highway, and I'll just, it gets people to slow down. It's what I do to help out. Right.
That's what I do.
That's awesome. Dang, I wish I don't know where you're going with that, because when you said I wanted to be a police officer growing up, I said, me too.
What'd you think about that?
It's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. All right. Well, we're going to step the game up a little bit, and we have a crowd favorite, the steel horseshoe. Now, what's awesome about this is we've, like Officer Gus said a moment ago, we've known each other for quite a while. We've done school assemblies together and everything. So this is not his first time seeing this steel horseshoe, but it will be his first time trying to bend one on video. But being as though this is probably new for some people who haven't seen this before, I'm going to teach you the technique that we use in order to bend this horseshoe. Now, I use a push-pull method. I grab the horseshoe and I base it on my thigh, and I push one end of the shoe away from me, while pulling the other shoe or other end of the shoe towards me. Then there's another stage where you can base the horseshoe on your side hip, and just do like a tricep push down, and just it's pretty painful and it hurts. And then there's one last stage where you you jam the spine of this thing into your thigh and you crush it opposite ends of each other. Now there is a warning with this particular feat of strength. We'll give you 10 seconds, but during that 10 seconds, if you should hear a popping sound, a cracking sound, that's going to be the tricep dislocating from the bone, and that's a good time to stop.
Could be several different things.
You're right. Several different things. All of them require surgery. So, so what we're going to do is I'll give you this towel so you can wrap the ends, because there's a pain tolerance in it if this metal starts digging in your skin. So here you go, good sir.
Let's go. Come on.
All right, come on. You can do this, Officer Gus. Come on. Come on, Officer Gus. Come on. Piece of cake. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo.
Got somebody for Rockford.
Oh, you did bend it. Good job. Yeah. Good job, man.
Yeah.
What do you think? Real horseshoe?
Oh, yeah.
That's real? All right.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely the nightmare.
You want me to pull it back?
That's what you said last time I did it.
Oh boy, this is gonna
Oh,
be.
yeah, that's right.
Because it went opposite.
Because it went opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm going to thank him for that.
All right. Officer Gus was able to open up our horseshoe, and that's a very, very tough piece of steel. Now, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to finish this horseshoe into the shape of an S. And for the Conquerors, that stands for success.
Here we go. Come on. Come on, Yago. Get it, baby. Come on. Get it. Come on.
All right. Now we're cooking with oil.
Come on, baby. Get it, baby. Here we go.
Take advantage of the fact I ain't in front of thousands and we ain't in no time crunch. Because that's the hard part. Okay. All right, Officer Gus. You don't do that to your friends, man.
Get it. Get it. Come on. Yeah, baby. Come on.
Okay.
Come on. Here we go.
Shouldn't have stopped. That was probably a bad idea.
Set it on the top, baby. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Get it. Get it. Come on. Come on. Get this. Get one arm. Come on. Get it. Come on. Get it. Come on. Pop. Go.
That hard part's done.
Come on, y'all. Get it.
Okay.
Now that's past an S.
A little bit. Now, I really wanted to do this for Officer Gus because when I first got this idea to do meeting the human behind the badge, he was one of the first officers I wanted to speak to, and when you're, in a moment, you're going to find out why. Because of his heart.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us This one means a lot to me. All of our videos mean a lot to me, but this one really means a lot to me because before getting involved with the Conquerors and doing so many school assemblies, I never knew that cops were like actually assigned to certain buildings or things like that. And so when I reconnected with Officer Gus here, this was a really cool opportunity because I was thinking if I don't know this, maybe a lot of people don't know this kind of thing. So right now we're just going to have a conversation and find out more about the human behind the badge. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for doing this here at this school, Valleywood. This is a pretty awesome school. I know a couple of the teachers. So would you kind of tell us about what made you want to be a cop in the first place? Like, how'd it start for you?
I'm the youngest of three boys, and growing up, three boys playing around and everything, we always played cops and robbers. I was always pretty good at it, and I thought, you know what, I should make that a career. It was just always something that interested me. I always respected the uniform, and I remember at my elementary school, Grand Rapids PD had an officer come in, Officer Friendly was his name, and we had the whole school assembly sitting down and listening to him, and that was always something that I looked at and I respected, and I always thought that's something that I want to do someday. Fortunately, in my career here, I was offered, or I had the opportunity to become a school resource officer here. We had the program was disbanded for several years because of budget issues, and we made the decision as a police department to bring it back. It was one of the things that there was a couple different opportunities that I went and met with the chief and deputy chief and removed myself from a couple different things that I had an opportunity at to put myself in the running for the school resource officer position, and full well knowing I might shoot myself in the foot and not get either. But this was it's been the best decision I made as far as a position to put in for my career, and I just every day I come to work I love coming here, and it's just super cool to be able to come in here, have conversations with the kids, being able to hang out with the kids, connect with them on a different level, and then kind of see what those relationships are like outside of school. When I drive through a neighborhood and see kids that I see on a daily basis, then recognize me, recognize my partners out there. So, super cool when you're out there and I'll be on a call and you'll hear, "Hey, Officer Gus," and from 3-4 neighborhoods away. There was one Halloween I was working, just driving around, and we were kind of trunk or treat, and so we see a group of kids and we'd pop the car and pull out some candy, and I had one of the students here at Valleywood, she sprinted probably 6 yards away to come over and just almost tackle me, give me a hug, and that is impactful, especially for a police officer to have that connection with the kids.
Yeah, I remember us doing that the Con and the Cop school assembly years and years ago, and yeah, the response that the kids had for you, like, we're used to people cheering for us because we're the Conquerors, but when they would be like, "Yeah, today we got Officer Gus," the kids would just go nuts, and I felt a little slighted because of that. And I was like, "Man, come on, y'all supposed to be here to see me."
Home crowd.
Home crowd. But like, I just imagine something like that having a long-lasting effect on kids and how they see cops and how comfortable they are talking to you and stuff. It comes from like building that relationship, creating that rapport. And so I really like that. So how long have you been doing it, doing this school resource officer?
I think we're on our fifth year now,
okay.
Coming back into it. And again, it's one of the decisions that we made as a police department to say there's an important connection there. Mm-hmm. And to have that connection, to have the relationships has really been impactful for not only us as school resource officers, but again, I'll come into work and I'll hear a lot of different officers, "Hey, do you know so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so?" We just, every time we're on the street, we hear your name, and then they come back to school the next day and they're like, "Do you know Officer so-and-so and Officer so-and-so? Because I ran into them and they stopped and played basketball with us and they did all these different things." So, it's super cool to see that how the relationships we have here can get out in the community. And I've been fortunate that I've been a police officer in the city for a lot of years. So, I mean, I even know some of the kids' parents from the time I started here as a police officer. So some of those connections, relationship-wise, we have one of Valleywood's graduates who just graduated from East Kentwood this year, is enrolled to do a youth police academy here in the city of Kentwood. So
Nice.
it would be, you know, that would be special to see somebody who I've had a great relationship with to maybe come into a career and maybe become a police officer here in the city of Kentwood.
That'd be real cool.
It would.
That'd be real cool. Wow, that's cool. So with so how long have you been a police officer total?
I've been a police officer about 30 years. I know it's hard to tell from my youthful boyish appearance,
Man.
but I worked. This December will be my 28th year here,
Okay.
and then I worked for a couple different agencies before I came here.
Okay, so you were out on patrol and all that kind of stuff, and then came in here. That's cool. All right. What would you say is probably your favorite part about doing this job in particular?
I think just, again, the daily interactions with the kids and the accountability that goes along with it, because they'll keep me accountable and I keep them accountable. You know, there's days where if I have a day off or my schedule changes or something like that, I mean, there'll be kids, as soon as I walk in the door the next day, say, "You weren't here yesterday, where were you?" And, you know, one student, "You weren't here yesterday, what are you having for lunch today?" And, you know, just to be able to have that. But then in the same token, with truancy and absenteeisms and things like that, for me to check on those kids and to ask, "Hey, where you been? Do you need some help? Is there something that is going on?" And, you know, sometimes there's a positive answer to that, and sometimes there's no, we're just good, and I just didn't feel like coming. You know, so it's just the kids are very refreshing. There's no preconceived notions. There's no barriers, there's no animosity. There's nothing. It is just 100% accepting, and that's one of the coolest things that I've seen since I've come to this school, is from lunchtime to hallway interaction to classroom interactions, everything is the inclusivity of all the kids. So no matter gender, no matter race, no matter ethnicity, no matter socioeconomic background, no matter what, the kids just interact. They're accepting that everybody, and to be able to have that, and then as a police officer walk in and have that as well, you know, that's a refreshing way to go about your day. You know, at the end of the day, when the kids are getting on the bus or parents are picking them up or something, and they're, "Have a good day, Officer Gus, see you tomorrow," you know, and, you know, back and forth with them, that's powerful.
Yeah. And when you talk about like the truancy and stuff like that, I just gotta imagine that because they see you at so many different positive atmospheres, it makes the door easier to open for those tough conversations with the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it would probably, I'm just speaking for me, like if I was a student here and I saw you, you know, like you were playing ball with us and you were having lunch with us, and I see you kind of often, you're asking me how my weekend was or all that kind of stuff. When you do have to talk to me about something hard, then I would know that it's coming from somebody that cares about me, not just here just to jump on my case.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've had kids that have left class to come and talk to me because they had an issue, or they just needed to sound off about something, or they've asked for advice. You know, so to have that role and that responsibility with the kids it's powerful, it's impactful, it's again, it's the best job I've had at the department.
Yeah, I echo all of that. I think it's all those things, but I also think it's necessary. You know, I think it's necessary. I'm part of a program that focuses on reentry, and one of their things about having uniformed police officers engage with people is because so many they're like, look, if everybody keeps on associating the uniform with something negative, then that's going to keep that idea going. And so it's like when we do these events and have these programs rolled out, we want to have uniform cops do this kind of thing so people will associate us with something positive and stuff like that. So I think that's another really great thing about you actually in full gear at the school, so the students will get a lot more comfortable, and they probably already are. You know, I know a lot about your personality, so.
Yeah, no, there's certainly truth to that, because that's one of the things that my partners and I have kind of said, hey, what about like a different uniform? Or, but you know, having this as a daily basis, and you know, that's Halloween. Hey, Officer Gus, what are you gonna dress up as? I think I'd be a cop. How about you? You know, so
right.
It's all those things are when the kids see somebody or one of my partners or somebody else. Now it's not a fear. It's not a stigma. It's not
right.
You know, something different. There's some familiarity that goes with that uniform, with the patrol car, with you know, the different things that this uniform represents. And that's why I said, I mean, it's refreshing to see that there's no barriers from the kids. It's refreshing to see that there's just, the kids are accepting.
Yeah.
And can't say that for all the adults in the building, but so I mean, it's really cool to see how a police officer is welcomed into. I mean, I could walk in to a gym class. I can play football. I could walk into, you know, I've been asked to just supervise a room during a assembly day. I've been, you know, help out in the lunchrooms. I walk down, or I can walk in and sit down with a group of kids at a table and just hang out at lunch. And I'll have kids come up, seek me out in the lunchroom to just talk to me. And no matter what, and there's some, you know, some people have had negative contacts, but that's not a barrier that they see when it comes to me. And my partners that do the same job in the other schools is they're more open to come in, talk, sit down, whether or not it's, hey, I got a question about what happened or what, why, and how, or you know, hey, what's your experience in this? So there's a lot of different things that happen. It's kind of hard to quantify on a daily basis. You know what all those conversations were, and mentoring and different things. Remember the first year I was here, I helped out with the wrestling team. And I walked up and I was able to kind of put my gear in a room, and it was, you know, it was 5 feet away from me, and had my radio out there. But the kids were, when they saw me outside of this, they were like, "Us, a different dude." And there's a story I've shared with you, but my son, when he was in middle school, he ran track against Valleywood from different schools, and they had a track meet here at EK. And so I came off duty. I had shorts, t-shirt, baseball hat, some sunglasses on. I walked down on the track, and I grabbed my son. I said, "Come on, I want to introduce you to some of the kids that I hang out with every day." And I went and talked with kids and talked about baton handoffs and stretching and doing all these different things, and you know, running through the end of the finish line instead of stopping right before, and introduced him to my son, everything. And the kids the next day in school came up to me and said, "Officer Gus, there was a dude at the track meet yesterday who looked just like you, who sounded just like you." And I said, "Really? Did he have this hat on?" Like, "Yeah." I said, "That was me, man." But because I didn't have this on, they didn't equate that to me being that person. And so sharing my family, talking about my son, my daughter, when people find out you're married, Officer Gus, and can I see a picture of your wife, and I'll show them it. You know, I have some stuff up in my office that is related to my family, and kids will come in on a regular basis, and you know, they want to see who's this, where is this taken, all these different things. So so it's not just me being here in uniform. It's not just me being here as a police officer that, you know, this is what I do, and that's the only time they see me. You know, I make up a point to, if we have some athletic events, if we have band concerts, if we have awards assemblies, stuff like that, try to be at those too, so the parents just see not only a, you know, school hour police officer, but they're there for the whole thing, and it's really neat then to see the kids come up and have that interaction, and you know, they have their honors projects up and all this other stuff, and we're talking about it, and the parents are, look at this, and yeah, we talked about it, so it's neat.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. You kind of reminded me of a question I really wanted to ask, if you could, without using any names, but has there been a time where you've had a really, you know, good relationship with these kids, and then like outside of here had to, you know, been able to be in a position to help them for you know, something outside of this building, like where it was like, all right, you know, I need Officer Gus or something?
I've had parents, I've had kids reach out to me about you know, some things that have happened outside of the school. There's been, you know, there's some kids have had some contacts with my partners, and as a result of those contacts, now there may be some court appearances or something of that nature, and you know, they're coming up to me and asking me about what's the process going to be. You know, I've had kids look at me and say, hey, Officer Gus, I'm scared. And so how do we talk about that? You know, or what do we talk about? How do we make them understand the severity of the situation, but also how are we going to get through this?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a former student, he made a bad decision, and there were some things that happened at home with his siblings and stuff like that, he ended up going to a different school district, and I was off on a medical leave, and I got a text from his probation officer, and the probation officer said, hey, so-and-so's looking to contact you. So I reached out to him and just said, hey, word on the street, is you looking to contact me, what's up? And his response was, will it shock you to know that I miss you? And honestly, I said, yeah, a little bit, but I'm glad you reached out. And then to know that I followed up with him, said, hey, congratulations on making the basketball team. Hey, congratulations on the decisions you're making. So even though he's not in our district anymore, even though, you know, he had to move because of family reasons, things like that, that I'm still keeping in contact, still keeping tabs on him. You know, and not, you know, that's one of the things that as a police officer, a lot of times we're calling home or we're having contact with parents because of negative things. And that was one of the things that when I started this position, I made it a point to not only do negative contacts, but also for the positive contacts. And so to let parents know when kids are doing the right thing. And you know, I've had parents where I've called and they're like, you know, what does so-and-so do now? And I said, did something awesome. And that parent on the other end of the line was like, I've never had a cop call me and tell me my kid's done anything good. I said, well, celebrate it, because he did. And there was a lot of different things that individual, a lot of different decisions that individual made that were positive. So ended up having a great school year here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes down to stuff like that, you become like this pillar for those kids, and they might not say it, but like when you establish that kind of rapport with them, that does last a long time. And I can only speak from personal experience, like just from making some bonehead decisions I've made, and having a couple people really who's been there for me as a youngster, even through my mess. There's times where I wish I could be like, man, I wish I could reach back to that person and be like, hey man, thanks for not giving up on me. Thanks for believing in me, even though I was going through craziness. But they had a lot of grace and a lot of mercy for me, and it sounds like you do too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so are there other resource officers in other buildings and stuff?
Yep. We have another one. One of my partners is in Crestwood Middle, and then another one is in Kellogg'sville Middle, within the city of Kentwood.
Okay.
That's what we got going on.
Okay. Who is Officer Gus?
I mean, if you're asking who is Officer Gus,
Yes.
I mean, Officer Gus is a police officer. I've been in the city of Kentwood for 28 years. I worked patrol for about half of it. I was community service officer before I got the school resource officer position. I was on our special response team for 13 years. It was my job as the breacher.
What is that?
It's like it's special response team, so it deals with high risk situations. So, anything barricaded gunmen, drug search warrants, any of those things, anything that's a little bit higher risk. That's what the team is for. Works well together as a team, some specialized training, some different things like that. As a member of that team, I was fortunate to get a lot of different training throughout those 13 years. So, I'm a use of force instructor. We do reality-based scenario training. I'm one of those instructors. So there's a bunch of different things that I've been blessed with to have as part of my career. And again, having school resource right now, that's comparing it to everything else. This is what I really feel that I was called to do as part of my career is be here and do that. But who am I? A lieutenant from a neighboring agency said it once, and I've some of our new officers, when we come and we talk, it's always resonated with me. He said, being a cop is a lifestyle, not a life. If you make it your life, it'll burn you out. And one of my best friends, we met when our kids were young, and we'd show up and we'd each pick our kids up from school, and finally, after several months, he just looked at me and said, "What do you do for a living?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "Why?" Because I just can't figure it out. And he said, "I usually got a pretty good read on it." And I told him I'm a cop, and he's like, "I'd have never thought that." He said, "You don't talk about it. You don't act like them. Everything." And I'm like, "Well, how's a cop act?"
Yeah.
But when I leave, I like to leave. And that's one of the things that probably the first experiences I had here at Valleywood is we did a thing called a lunch and learn, and I was invited in here, and they wanted to know what a police officer was. And what I told them is, I do a job. I enforce laws, laws or city ordinances within the city. But that's my job. Who am I? I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. I'm a neighbor. I'm a volunteer. I was on my kid's school board for a while. I coach wrestling. I've coached wrestling at 4 different high schools, throughout my life. It's just, there's so much more to what a police officer is than just what this uniform is. And outside of work, police officers are just people. I mean, we get hurt, we lose people. We go through the same financial crises. We go through the same struggles that any other family does. And unfortunately, we're defined by what this uniform is most of the time. And that's where that's where it's been super cool for me, for the kids to recognize me and accept me. And yeah, even though I'm wearing the uniform, but just to be able to have genuine conversations, to be able to break it down and just accept me. And I go back to my first job 30 years ago. I was working a special event. It was a basketball tournament, and I really didn't have a whole lot of training. They just kind of gave me a uniform and a badge and stuff and said, go stand over there. So it's kind of what I did. And there was a little boy who was at a concession stand, and his dad was up at the concession stand making the order, but the little boy was like playing hide and seek around his dad, or peekaboo or whatever,
Sure.
Around him, and looking at me and waving, and he's waving between his dad's legs and everything. And that dad, after a couple minutes of that kid doing that, like, he looked down and looked at him and grabbed him, and then he turned and looked. And he looked and saw me standing there. And he happened to be a black gentleman, and his son was, but he grabbed that little boy's hand, and he said, "We don't talk to those people." And I remember standing there, and I was like, who's he talking about? I mean, where's there a threat? And it took me a minute to process that he was talking about me, the person that little boy's supposed to feel safe coming to.
Yeah.
That's what that little boy was being told by his dad. And I mean, that was something that I've never forgotten.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what's neat. That's what's neat about this place. That's what's neat about these kids, is just on a daily basis.
Yeah, you don't have to go through that on a daily basis.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, I doing these videos have been like really helpful for me, because obviously with what I do, I work a lot with cops, and I do a lot with like just have a lot of really cool cop friends, and been able to have some conversations with them that was like run some things by them, you know what I mean, and can like kind of talk off the record on some stuff. But I have a fear of police, and it just jumps on me at night. So as you was talking about that, I was wondering, well, I wouldn't have responded that way. But I'm also thinking, would I've responded that way 15 years ago? But that's when I was, you know, as before a lot of differences in my life, and I was thinking, I don't know, I probably would have, because the only interactions I've ever had with cops have been bad. Except for one, when I got beaten, robbed, and a cop saved me in the alley. Long story for a different day, but you know, like through one of my good friends, I talked with him over this time I got pulled over 4 years ago, probably 6 years ago, and I froze. It was broad daylight. I froze. And the officer, this is how he put his badge down. He put it down. He pulled me over. My plate was bad. I didn't know it was bad. And as soon as he walked up, he's like, "Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?" He was very, very nice, but I was terrified. And because I didn't know my plate was bad, and I wasn't trying to outrun him or nothing. And when I saw him in my rear view, when he got behind me, I was like, I don't think I was speeding. I was in this daylight, and I was like, I don't know. But when I pulled over, I froze. And he was like, "Sir, are you all right?" You know, he was asking. He was like, "Do you have your license registered? Do you know why I pulled you over?" I was like, "I don't know." And I didn't even look at him. I just kept my hands here, and I didn't even look at him. I said, you know, he's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I said, "No." He's like, "Well, your plate's bad," and I said, "Okay." And he's like, "Okay, can you get your driver's license registration?" I said, "Yep." And he was like, he said, "How you doing, man?" I said, "I'm doing fine." He said, "Are you afraid?" I was like, "Yep." And then he just pretty much put his badge down. He said, "Listen, man, I know a lot's going on right now, da 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 da." And then he just said, he's like, "I'm not here to ruin your life or anything like that." And he's like, I just want you to calm down and breathe for me, man. If you just give me your license, man, we could get this over with really, really quick, man." And I was like, "Okay." And I got everything, and then he started talking about himself. He's like, kind of being real nice and stuff. And it kind of brought it down a bit. And I was literally a block and a half from my job, and I was like, "Yep, I'm actually I work right here." And then he gave me this flyer because of something that the cops were doing in the area. But I was just like, it's like he went overboard to put me at ease and stuff. And so I was thinking like, man, I don't know if that guy had bad interactions with cops, and maybe that's it or something. But everybody's got a story. I mean, a lot of it, I think, in my opinion, is the artificial framework of the media, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do these, because I wanted to give officers a platform to tell their stories and get to know them, and so you can give your authentic narrative on how it is for you.
Can I let you in on a little secret?
Sure, man.
I get scared when the cops are behind me too.
Yeah.
No, I mean, serious. And that's, people don't know. People don't think that. And so if I'm in my personal vehicle and somebody flips on me and now they're closing speed, the same feeling everybody else gets. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Am I going to get stopped? Am I getting the ticket? All those same feelings that everybody else has. Again, I mean, it's just, we're people.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the things that when I talk to the kids, I don't wear this home. Yeah. I don't sleep in this. I don't get to drive that patrol car home every day. So when I come to work in shorts and t-shirt. When I leave work, I leave in shorts and t-shirt. And so people don't know who I am driving down the road. So again, I mean, if somebody flips on me or anybody else, I go through the same things that anybody else is going to go through. If you see a patrol car behind them, or if you get stopped, anything like that is that same anxiety, the same. Yeah. It's not a fun place to be. I mean, I recognize that, and I recognize that as a police officer. Again, when and if a traffic stop is made, to go up and have that contact with that driver or that person, or on a call for service, or just in any interaction with somebody as a uniformed police officer, to be able to recognize that sometimes people aren't all that comfortable. I mean, there was a student here at one time that he has some checker past with different agencies and everything, and he looked at me, one of the first days, and he looked at me and said, "I hate cops." Huh. And I said, "Sorry." But he was looking for, a confrontation from me.
Right.
And about a week later, told you I hate you. I get it. So, but you don't really know me. You know the badge, the uniform. And when it was all said and done, Dad, him, myself, shaking hands. How can I help you? Is there something that we can do? I reached out to different agencies for that kid because of the successes that he had here. For just little, hey, if there's something that there's a carnival in town. I said, he says he's not supposed to come back because of what he did. Where are we at on that? And he's like, if you're telling me he's good, he's good. So there's a lot of things that have changed, and there's a lot of things that have changed well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not what we hear about most of the time, and that's why I appreciate you doing this.
Well, it's an honor to be able to do these kind of things, you know, with you guys, with you in particular, because I know you go above and beyond a lot of time for the kids and for the community, and that's not small, man. That's not small, and it should be recognized. It should be recognized. It should be publicized. It should be something that people talk about more, and it should be something that spreads, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of the way I look at it is. Now that's where I go back and say that's my job, and that's what I should be doing, and that's what not only should I be doing as a police officer, but that's what I should be doing as a fellow man.
Yeah.
So if what we do here can go outside of this building and start going in the community, you know, then there's going to be some success. I'm going to consider at least what I've done in my career. If that's one person, you know, that's going to be something that I'll take as a memory that I can put on a mantle or whatever and say, I've made a success.
All right. Well, I think you have.
I appreciate that.
I think you have. Well, I want to thank you for this. Thank you for doing this with us, and thank you for having some fun and being open and honest and all that, man. I just appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, man.